What's up, party people? Welcome back to Round 5 Commentary with your boy Sparky. I'm here with my boy Victor. Say hi, Victor.
Hello, Victor.
Today we got a juicy one. White-black mid-range against white-black mid-range. This is the best we had, Victor. I'm sorry.
We can just do odds even.
No, listen, it's all good. I think that
I'll be on the play.
going into even after the eventual and hopeful breach ban, I
Yep.
think you're gonna see a lot of Orzhov mid range. I think it's just a strong deck. The the mid range aspect of it is going to be appealing for a lot of players, just because you're going to have a lot of tools available to you. Personally, I'm happy to see that there's going to probably be a mid range deck that's going to be the top dog. Maybe not everyone's a fan of that. I tell you, you're wrong. But that's a difference of opinions. So we'll see how it shakes out. But not too surprised to see, two white black mid range decks at the top tables.
You come from the clan of Abzan, don't you?
I believe I do. Though
Siege
recently,
Rhino was one of your favorite creatures of all time.
Siege Rhino is definitely up there as one of my favorite creatures. Definitely had me, feeling a type of way when that was the standard deck of the format. So I am a mid-range player at heart. Abzan speaks to me. Got a lot of Jeskai in the blood right now. There's a little bit. There's a good amount of Jeskai flowing through my veins.
I feel like you've been more of a control player as of late, especially in Modern. I think you've been enjoying the. Nah, I'm gonna determine what happens in these games. But
Yeah.
I do recall back in the day you playing a lot of Standard with Siege Rhinos and Rakshasa Death Dealers, doing some fun
Yeah.
stuff.
Forgot about Death Dealer. Great card. Great
Love
two
that card.
drop.
We got CJ going a 6 here. Hopefully 6, not 5. 5 would be detrimental to his game plan.
This I'll keep. I'll put
From what I've gathered playing these myself, especially at the RC, they can be a little coin flippy. If you see the right cards in the matchup, because obviously certain cards are better than others, you can kind of run away with the game. But we'll see how this one goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing for the deck is just that Ketramos is just so important, and Peter here with 2 of them, so he is certainly helping his chances of making sure that he gets this to come down. It looks like a fatal push on the very left, though, so this is a 1-lander. Or sorry, 2 lands, because he's got the flooded strand, so he will need to fetch Surveil to try to find a mana source.
Yep. I do like his hand, though, in this matchup. Like, you have 2 of the payoffs, which is pretty good. You also have Solitude, which I think is the best removal spell on the matchup, alongside with, like, a Fatal Push for a Felia if the dog comes out, and then a Flicker Wisp.
I'll miss you. I'll go to 19.
Ooh, and CJ hits the Solitude.
Yeah, probably not looking to...
I actually like this a lot.
Yeah, you don't want to, especially if, like, Peter... Whoever... I always feel like when I'm watching a mirror match or also just a value mid-range matchup where it's black-white versus, like, another variation, usually if you can get Solitude to Ephemerate and get value, you're probably ahead.
Yeah, by a lot.
I can understand it. The trade-off of losing 1 white card here is not strong enough. Oh, and there you go. Peter found his 3rd land.
Only thing I don't like about this is that Peter played the land that he left on top of the deck, and he gave his opponent perfect information. If CJ wrote down all the cards, CJ now knows all of the cards exactly in Peter's hand, whereas if Peter just played the Godless Shrine, there's a little bit of, like, fugazi going on where maybe he doesn't know one of the cards. For the viewers at home,
go ahead.
Don't bleed information.
Yeah, I think with 1 card being the unknown, I think Peter's trading off is that he's probably going to get a shadowy backstreet so he can surveil. Though I don't know if he needed to surveil yet. So maybe...
No, that's why I'm saying. Like, I mean, the best CJ can do is play a 2-drop, right? You have that covered with the Fatal Push. So just like playing Godless Shrine tapped is fine. Like the fatal push was face up because of the Thoughtseize.
And 4.
So I was
Yeah.
even surprised. I was surprised that CJ just ran the Emperor Bones into the fatal push.
Kind of on edge. Says the one who plays mill.
I mean, eventually you have to, depending on the situation. I guess you could wait, but too much waiting, especially when CG knows Peter's going to probably slam this Ketramos.
Yeah, and then he bends the swamp from the surveil, like he didn't want the land. I don't know. It was odd, but that's fine.
I think 3 is. I think once you have 3, you're almost fine because you're going to incidentally draw more lands anyway. At least that's the hope. So I'd rather find some action. If you look at Peter's hand, I mean, what Ketramos land, Flicker Wisp. I don't blame him for bidding the swamp. He's looking for some spells clearly.
Ooh, we got to stare down.
Here comes CJ's own Solitude. Yep, bidding a Ketramos. So he also had 2.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will lose a life, draw a card. Yep. You're at maybe at 22? Yeah, because I went to 16. Yeah. See, look, I'm already missing.
Some of these guys aren't good at math. I had to remind them.
Man, not good at math, or like myself the previous round, just making
Didn't wanna do
misplays
it.
left and right. Yeah, just so
Nobody's
no
perfect.
judgment here.
Present company included.
Sure. Go ahead.
I will say that beyond a reasonable doubt. I am definitely not perfect. I have made more than my fair share of punts and misplays. Neither of these guys are on yet, so ooh.
I couldn't tell if that was an Overlord or an Emperor, but now DJ might be able to just.
So this is an interesting spot. If you have a white card, I think I take the Solitude here, but I think he has 2 black cards, or like a land and a black card.
This is a decision to make.
All right, looks like it's an interesting choice for CJ. So we'll see what's going to happen.
I think I think he wants to try and get value off of this Overlord by taking the Felia.
We don't have enough in exile, so. And step.
No 4th land.
I'll get this Temple Garden tapped.
Wait, did he just miss a land drop?
It's got the spice.
I believe he did.
Now, I could see somebody doing that if we're like trying to fake out our opponent, if we're trying to like, shuck and jive or some stuff, but that's not happening here. Peter finds the Temple Garden, I believe, because he's on Prismatic Ending. Ooh, and he's got the Solitude rolled up with the 5th land. Do you jam the Solitude now and draw a card?
Your opponent has. So
knowing your
this is
opponent has the Felia?
Yeah, I think you do. The only thing I'm concerned about in this particular situation is if there's an ephemerate, but at the same time, if CJ wants to save his Ketramos, he has to do it at the expense of giving Peter an extra card. All right, so I don't agree with this. I don't agree with letting it happen on your opponent's turn because
your opponent gets to draw.
Now CJ gets the card, which is way better.
Now CJ plays the Shadowy Backstreet.
I'll leave that on top.
Yeah, I don't believe that he had that in hand. So
I will say.
I think he did.
So go to 3. Unless we do something.
I think Shadowy Backstreet was one of the 2 cards that was in his hands before he picked up the Felia.
I draw a card from that. So you're only going to gain 3 life. This is going to draw a card? Yeah.
This is the 2 of them not understanding how the cards work.
We'll go to 13.
Ketramos, while it is simple in its implementation once you know it, it is kind of actually a confusing card.
Yeah, there's something that comes. I was the spotter for Friday, as you know. So there's something interesting that comes up that Peter tries to do, but you'll see it when it happens.
Let's see if I can get it right as soon as it happens.
It's not in this game.
Oh, okay. Darn, I was paying such good attention.
Gotta keep you on your toes, dog.
What I wouldn't mind from Peter here is jamming this Flicker Wisp, not using the
What do you flicker?
the land so you can get a surveil in.
target my solitude.
Interesting.
Sure.
Nothing else.
I draw a card. Yep.
Like, either way, you're
Peter with all of the heat.
End step. I'm gonna
Oh no.
flash that in. Oh shit.
oh boy.
Clip it and ship it, CJ.
We caught him in 4K, ladies and gentlemen.
So viewers at
he
home,
just
let your opponent
seeds.
resolve their triggers, then do your stuff.
I was like, okay.
Alrighty then.
Communication is key, and understanding where you are in the game is always a communicative skill. Everybody, always make sure to practice.
I pulled up the leveler because Peter next leveled that. I thought he was. There was no way I would have thought he would target the solitude, but CJ was just squeaking by. I think he had a long day. I think what a lot of the viewers at home don't realize is like by this time it's like 11 o'clock at night for some people. If you started work at like 8 o'clock on a Friday and you're now like 16 plus hours into being awake and you're trying to play Magic at a premium level, it's probably not going to happen.
Listen, you're not going to get any judgment from me, especially on an FNM night.
No, of course not.
You know, I played terribly the previous round, so.
What were you playing last night?
Playing Miracles. I did make the switch over to Blue White Miracles, and I know we talked about it. You know,
nice.
Being close.
Was it a fun, interesting like?
Yeah,
I saw you were like brain surgeon and putting stuff on top and doing like the fun little mechanic stuff.
Yeah, I mean it's a fun deck for me. It's definitely not fun for the person across from me, especially because T5 emblem won me multiple games, which is not exactly a way to win a game, but it is, and so.
But you have hauled the Storm Giants to close games out and solitudes and stuff, right?
Depending on the variation, you might have some Snapcasters. You'll definitely have some solitudes, and you'll have at least one haul of the Storm Giants, which is certainly one of the best ways you can be winning in a control shell.
Yeah.
And Sparky was looking at my side.
I can tell you from sitting in the booth and like watching what happened here. Peter cut 2 Thought Seizes and 1 Flicker Wisp for a Ray of Enfeeblement and 2 Vindicates, and then CJ cut 2 Fatal Pushes and a Flicker Wisp for 2 Vindicates and an Elvish Norn.
You think so?
Now, yeah, those all make sense to me.
Amongst the 2 plans, I like the Elvish Norn more because unless your opponent has a Vindicate, it's highly unlikely they're dealing with it. And you literally just shut their entire deck off, with the exception of like Felia or whatever. So these are the game plans. I was on when I was playing at the RC. I was on more of a list closer to what CJ's playing with the Elvish Norns and the Vindicates and stuff. I really like that for the mirror. I've seen a lot of people playing Blood Baron of Viscopa, which has protection from black and white. That's another card that I don't think you can deal with at all.
And I don't mind running the
I'm trying to think of the black white list in general. Yeah, there wouldn't
like I like there's not a card you can play. I mean like I'd have to check. I'm not sure how much damage Iganjo deals.
It does deal 4, but most lists are not playing Iganjo right now.
No, there was a list that I was running where I had instead of like 2 extra fetches, I had an Iganjo and I had a Takanuma as like ways to like deal with pesky stuff that you would see. And like Iganjo is the only way that deck can deal with a Blood Baron of Viscopa. So I'm going to be looking into that going into the season. If like people are playing Blood Baron, it might just be Cope. But we'll see.
I mean, if Orzhov mid-range in any of its variants, right? Like I know we're watching the Ketramos builds right now, but I know that there is a black-white deck that I believe it has a combination of Soul Spikes, Shieldrids, Dolthy, and Necrodominance. I know there's a version like that out there.
Yeah,
I don't think
forget our
any. Well, I mean, it's out there, so I don't know
Oh,
if
it
it's
is
really.
out there.
I don't think even that variation has a way to deal with Blood Baron main. Those versions, I think, have some sort of board wipe in the sideboard, so they might have a better chance of dealing with it.
Just like,
Because I think they run Wrath of the Skies or the other, some run the Meat Hook Massacre as
I've also
well.
seen lists play Damnation as like a 4-mana just wrath spell against some of these
Yeah,
decks, which I don't think is
which
that bad.
makes sense to me because it's just clean. So they have a little bit more of a chance, but yeah, a Ganja doesn't seem like a bad call, especially with the fact that you are just absolutely stone cold dead to that card
Yeah.
in play, which is crazy in its own right. The fact that that card just shuts you off, but that is the those are the
The only
things
thing-
you kind of have to take the chance on because I mean it is still a 5-mana 4/4 that's only good against your deck.
Yeah. The only thing I don't like about it is the 5-mana. I think White Black Midrange, though it is a mid-range deck, it is very much a deck that is very tight on how much mana it plays and how much mana it needs to play with. That's why you see these modal DFC creatures that are lands, which you can find with the Overlord. I've almost wanted to max out like playing 7 of them because there've been a lot of times where like I've like, oh, I kept a 2-lander with Overlord and I want to hit a land, and if I hit one of those, that's pretty good for me. So, I think in the future maybe the lists move towards playing more, but I've seen like Respect the Cat on Twitter, infamous 4-color Omnath player like yourself, has moved to the Aether Vial version of this list, not playing Ketramos,
I'm ready.
even after the release.
Your thoughts, Ethan?
Yeah, which is crazy to me, but I believe he's even written some stuff and he's had some success.
Yes, he's done
Um,
very well with it.
So it is, like I said, very cool to see black white being a top color pair right now. I don't think that there's anything terrible about that. But
No,
to be fair,
deck is fun.
you know, everyone's got their different, tastes and flavors of Magic. So, for me, that's my flavor. Those mid range mirrors.
Yeah.
But I know it's not for everyone.
Okay, all right.
So CJ looks at his opponent's hand. His opponent's hand has 3 cards that are relevant: Felia, Overlord, Ray of Enfeeblement. I'm taking Overlord here.
I do. Yeah, because he has no way to do the early.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
I
just
could
because
see.
you leave your opponent with like next to nothing.
Draw.
Yeah, because if you take the Felia, then he plays the Overlord. Peter just gets back the Felia, so it's like basically a lost Thoughtseize. So I'm not opposed to it.
Rip the Ketramos off the top.
Oh boy, Thoughtseize is bugged.
I wonder if CJ is going to go for the Felia in his hand again into the removal spell that he knows about.
Surveil. Yep.
Yeah, I say why not? Because if anything, it means that Peter's going to spend a mana on his turn. Maybe not do the tempo play of if he has a 2-drop playing it just so he can stay on curve.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of removing stuff anyway, and the idea is,
I'll leave it on top.
if CJ's got his own Overlord after he plays his Felia, he's just in business, and if not, at the very least, he gets to maybe untap and have Overlord plus.
Peter drew the second Overlord there.
Oh, that's even better. I mean, luckily for CJ being on the play, Peter keeping behind the removal spell, so maybe some potential to capitalize on that kind of off turn.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so CJ had the combo.
Yeah, but he knows about the Ray of Enfeeblement.
You had the Melvor.
Oh, there's only one choice. Sad to see all my relics. Move or move to combat.
I still think even though knowing about the Ray, I think that the
you seen off the rail?
getting
Oh, you have a land to play. Yeah.
getting Overlord down first
before you
is
Yeah.
grimy little surveillance.
probably better than most of what you're going to be doing.
That's fair.
Oh, how many cards do you have in hand?
4? 4.
4.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of the Ketramos deck so far, I do just feel like the Overlord is one of the. If you don't have your Ketramos engine going, this is a very close second in terms of just overall power level and trying to win the game.
Yeah, so Peter has Godless Shrine, Ketramos, Felia, and Overlord. He has what I would consider at this point the nuts.
The rail. I'll leave it on top. On top?
Yep.
The only thing I would leave on top here is a land.
Oh.
It was a solitude.
Play that tap. Go ahead.
Interesting.
Anybody watching, just as a note, it is like basically midnight.
CJ reminding everyone at home what time it is.
Yeah,
Use
it's t-shirt time.
everything I do is a mistake. Thoughtseize.
Ooh, okay. So I know CJ in his hand has a Vindicate. If he takes the Overlord, he can Vindicate one of the lands,
You're just gonna grab it back with the Overlord. That's
and then Peter needs to draw a land to stay in the game.
I don't like trying to put your opponent on.
Overlord combo.
I mean, it's certainly possible.
Ketramos, and you're gonna- which one is-
So here's the thought process, right? If you thought seize the Overlord and then Vindicate the Felia, your opponent still has Ketramos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you just Vindicate the land, your opponent can't play the Ketramos unless they draw a land. So you're putting them on like the next card having to be a land. And then they can do stuff in the game.
12.
But if Peter like draws anything that's not a land, you just lock him out of doing anything and all he has is a solitude. Right?
Yeah. Okay. I can see that.
Because if the Ketramos enters play, Peter just has potential to gain advantage for the rest of the game.
No.
Where like all he has to do is activate his do his game plan. Like if he draws like a relic, if he draws anything along those lines.
Play the Ketramos.
Yeah.
Go.
So it wasn't a land. And then we have
Double Witch Enchanter and then a black card, or yeah, it looks like a Witch Enchanter.
Tapped as a land. I go.
Oof.
I think that's fine. But like this is what I'm saying, like I don't think CJ had any follow up, which is why I think the Vindicate was a better line.
Relic.
And now Peter gets to draw 5 cards in the turn.
Cards in hand. 2.
Like this is all hindsight, but like
I'm sorry. Activate relic. Make you exile a card.
like Peter just went from like having next to nothing to being in the driver's seat.
Okay.
Sure. Exile a card.
I'll ping you with the ETB.
Yep. I go to 8. I go to 17. Yep.
Orcish Bowmaster is definitely interesting.
Goodbye, Marshall. That's
Draw card. Oh yeah.
Two life per card is nothing to scoff at, but
Impending.
sure.
Well, now he can get the white card. He can get the Felia out of the graveyard and then just get rid of this orc.
Take Felia.
Yep.
Pitch Felia. Trigger. Ketramos. Draw a card. Lose life.
Yep.
Pending and Relic, yeah, I think your line was definitely the
I mean, like, it just so happens, like, I kind of worked it out last night. I'm kind of using, like, previous information because I got to watch a lot of this game already. But, like, I think the Vindicate was the line.
No,
Yeah, I mean, like,
I totally
I-
agree. Just for a few reasons, because
Two.
you're even though hindsight is 2020, you got to think about what line is going to leave you most dead, and
your opponent digging themselves out with Ketramos, which is what their deck is meant to do, is going to do that.
Open hand.
yeah.
Two.
So
Yeah.
Witch Enchanter.
Why would he target the relic?
Yeah.
Although targeting the relic stops him from drawing a bunch of cards. But yeah,
oh, okay, he had to.
yeah, he had an ephemerate.
Nothing exile, right? Nothing can't block.
No, it's sure. Nothing can block.
Combat. Yeah.
Yep.
Like currently at the stage of the game that we're currently in right now,
So go.
CJ's doing pretty good.
Draw.
Yep.
But Peter has what poker players call a chip in a chair. And the chip is Ketramos.
Thoughts is
Prismatic ending.
this guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is
Lose a life, draw a card.
No, it's a token.
You're right. You're right.
that was the play I was talking about.
Relic.
Tokens
Oh.
cause you to draw a card because they cease to exist.
Exile card. Lose a life, draw a card. 11 and 13. Crack. Draw 3 cards. Lose 2 life.
Now
Uh,
CJ's in trouble.
2,
Yeah,
3.
I mean that's a hard
Combat. Sure.
situation to come back from.
And I mean, ironically, now that we're looking back in hindsight, none of the cards Peter has drawn so far have been a land.
Go.
And he's drawn
Yeah, that's
he's drawn the
nasty.
5 there plus 3 or 4. He would have been out of the game. But again,
necessarily
hindsight.
necessary.
I figured it. I will believe you.
This is.
I think he has a it's a Ketramos of his own.
I do that. Yeah, I kind of have to. I gotta force you to have something.
Sure.
And I'm empty-handed, so end of turn, that becomes a boy. Unless you're doing something pre-boy.
Yeah, end of turn, that becomes a guy. You're good.
Okay.
Go to my turn?
Yep.
All right, thank goodness Peter just thought about it for a second and didn't go
And
crazy.
then realized he could have drawn a bunch more cards.
Solitude.
Sure.
Pitch.
But this is kind of what I was saying, where like if you see the good cards, like if you see your Ketramos, if you see the relic, if you see the solitude, and you're able to interact, and you have these ephemerates,
5, 14.
like you're just gonna run away with the game.
You gain 5, and okay. Yeah. Evoke trigger on the stack.
Yeah.
Ephemerate Solitude. Hit Ketramos.
Yeah.
I'll draw a card and
Play
lose a
it
life.
out for the camera.
Hold on.
Just-
Slow it down.
What? Oh.
First solitude leaves play. Then you'll draw a card.
So he's gonna draw for flickering his solitude
Yes,
first.
So I'll draw a card, lose a life off Solitude, leave it in play.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then Solitude will re-enter. I'll hit this. I'll draw a card, and I'll draw a card and lose a life.
I had to play a little bit of Judge last night too. That was fun.
no, I mean it's a good practice to remember because a lot of times people are going to forget their triggers, and
Yeah.
10.
You're at 10.
while life total didn't matter there,
Um,
it very well could have,
I'm
and
gonna play
it's
that
important for
attack.
people not to forget because
It's
your
buffer.
opponent,
And then
especially
I
when
will-
you're playing at those higher levels, is probably going to be watching it like a hawk. And if you think you got an extra life point, it turns out you don't. You
Yeah.
could be in dire straits.
Yeah. And then CJ draws his 1 card for the turn, with Peter having a stacked hand of at least 5 cards,
Rebound.
along with like I think the 5th or 6th, 7th, 8th solitude.
That's here.
I kind of felt bad. I wasn't trying to pick on Peter, but I was like, "Hey, bud, you can't put that on top of your deck."
No, that's something that I always stress to a lot of people is if you're gonna granted this is FNM, you should practice as if you're at an RC. The punishments aren't as severe, right? So if you make a mistake, yes, it's not going to be a severe thing. There's not game rules violations and warnings, but you do want to practice in appropriate fashion. You can't put cards on top of your library. They made sure that with Obsidat that wasn't happening.
I mean,
So
I'm gonna get solituded. Anyways.
CJ's comment was, "I don't want to take this. It's going to get solitude."
And so
End step.
Yeah. I mean, what if you don't take it?
Four.
Or if you take it and then don't play it,
Upkeep. I will ephemerate solitude.
Yeah.
Trigger a loser.
you're
card.
at
You put yourself up.
10.
You put yourself up for more life.
And
So
then
like his
exile,
attack
I
is
will draw a
basically
card from this
balked.
life.
Yep.
So I lose 2, draw 2.
Which is
I
fine.
will draw for turn.
Yeah, CJ being a good sport about this because there's no.
I will go to combat.
No,
hit you
like
for
had
4.
it been me, I think I would have conceded already.
Alright.
Like
Unless
I
he's
know,
got blood.
I know there's
unless
not-
he's got Blood Baron. Maybe he has Blood Baron. That's the only thing I could think of.
I didn't check his deck list, but I know all I know is the cards that he brought in. And I mean, like,
And then I'll go to end because I have 6 cards.
You're saying that's incorrect, still life?
I have you at 10 and him at 16.
Yeah. Because I gained 4
Yeah,
from this.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
what can it be? It could be a boat.
Could be a Blood Baron.
Could be a Blood Baron. Blood Baron would be great here. Although I do believe Peter has the Vindicate.
What is the Vindicate supposed to do against the Blood Baron?
Oh, that's right, Blood Baron. I'm sorry. I was thinking Elshnorn, the actual card that
16,
CJ
I'm
has.
15 off my fetch.
Oh yes, we talked about what.
CJ
No,
brought
never
in.
mind. Yeah, CJ brought in. So my hopes, my dreams, my rooting for the underdog in a situation like this will not matter. So I
No.
apologize to everyone at home.
I mean, but I mean, like it in reality. Let's say CJ had the Blood Baron, right?
You're at 10.
At 10.
It can't block the Ketramos, right? And then if he swings in, he's still taking 3 damage per cycle because like the Solitude would attack. Or
Well, the
he's, like-
first, if assuming Peter,
Sure.
okay, we're in an alternate reality, but with the same cards
Yeah.
Peter has,
yeah,
Go to my turn.
yeah, it wouldn't matter because this Witch's Enchanter is probably not going to stay around long enough to allow Peter or to allow CJ to double block the Ketramos just to gain 4 life.
I'll take 3.
Sure.
if your opponent's taking 3, you know this is not good for you.
Not great at all, but it hasn't been great for CJ since this Ketramos came down.
Yeah.
I'll vindicate your overlord.
Yarp.
I'll flicker wisp that away.
Ooh.
I will lose a card or lose a life, draw a card.
Yep.
And then I'll go to combat.
Yeah.
Elliot trigger. I'll flicker the flicker wisp. I'll lose a life, draw a card.
Ooh, Peter on the mana denial plan, maybe?
Hell yeah.
That's a Dalgo.
Is that cool?
Yeah.
I don't block Solitude.
Okay. I'll gain 3. And you'll
I like
Elliot
that
will
line.
die. You'll take 6. And I'll gain 4 off of the catcher.
Yeah, he doesn't really have.
17.
I mean, I guess he could put himself to 1, but
4.
Okay. End step.
just trying to give yourself some more turns just so the world isn't over.
His comes back in first.
Yours comes back in first. Target anything? Nothing. You can't target
I
anything.
have no target.
No target.
Flicker wisp. I'll flicker my Bogart bug.
Okay.
I'll lose a life, draw card.
Sure.
Go.
And the card on top is a...
Emperor of Bones?
Oh, shoot.
You got it.
You know, CJ didn't even end up drawing a lot of bad cards in the end here, but it's just
What's the best way to do this?
too
Before you go to combat, I
too
respond.
late.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, this
Or
is...
Solitude, the Emperor. Okay. Here's the Solitude, so you're aware. With my loaded hand of white cards.
CJ CJ had to deal with the I had all these.
Yeah, that's a rough one, but hey, you know, these small decisions make a huge difference, and
Yeah,
Look what-
when
you
you're
know
when
how
you're able to
one
snowball
ball
them
yeah.
and capitalize on the snowball, that's kind of how these matchups go.
Okay.
This is one of the decks that I think is going to see a lot of play moving into the format after Breach Ban. I do think the popularity of this is going to increase the popularity of Eldrazi Ramp, which Black-White has a bad matchup against. But once we don't need to have 10 sideboard cards against Breach, maybe that matchup gets a little bit better. Or we start splashing blue for Consignment Memory. Something along those lines. But we shall see. Do you have any closing notes, Victor?
No, I think that,
We were talking about the
you know,
I think it's good in some cases.
study your lines. Think about, especially when you're thought seizing, if you're not familiar with thought seizing, maybe from standard or, you're getting new into modern. While it doesn't seem like small decisions can make a big difference, it certainly can snowball into a situation like this where maybe CJ has a chance to win that game instead of trying to find a way not to lose the game.
Yeah, 100%.